right through my bones, making a buzz, I wanna lose control. Gotta admit, I can't leave it alone. You got me up in my zone, yeah.
Hi, my name's Tunde.
I'm Darren.
And we're Future Cuts.
And today we're going to tell you a bit about how we remixed DJ Marky's track Unlimited Gold.
So basically, when we got the cods to the remix, we always liked the original track and where it came from. We've always been friends of Marky's and really like what he's done and the vibe he had. So we just wanted to keep it roughly the same, just add our little touch to it. So the way we usually start is from the ground upwards, which meaning starting from the beats.
So that's the beat. The way we do this is we do it by writing the parts in MIDI. We've got a drum beat in the sampler in Logic, which is the XS24. We've got it chopped up. So we go in, create a MIDI part, and we just draw the beat in.
Yeah, so as Darren was saying, we put the beat into MIDI via the ESX24 sampler, which comes standard with Logic. So you get the kick, snare, hat, and then just program in. So fiddle around with it until you get the pattern you want. The way we usually work is we sort of lay beats. So we've got, say, the main break, then we'll think, okay, the kick needs to be a little bit beefier. So then we'll usually go to either an 808 patch or a 909 patch. For this one, we've gone to a 909 patch, which is just this.
That just provides the bottom end for the kick, gives it a weight that it needs in the clubs.
Now, also we like our snares. We like that snare, but we like the snares to sort of just have different flavors with the snares. Whether you're coming in for the sort of 32 bars and you just want to change the vibe of a little bit, so you might use a heavier snare or even a lighter snare. So for this one, we've got a bit of a sort of I wouldn't say heavy, I'd say it just cracks more, and you'll know what I mean in a minute. So even just with that, it just gives your beats a little bit more, sort of makes them a little bit more dynamic, and you can, it's like little tricks of the trade. You can get out of things or come into things, certain sort of parts of the track, just by putting an extra snare in or taking it out.
So at that point, that's like the meat of the track. We've got the beat in there, and we're happy with that. So we know this is really our start point. From here, really, we'd start trying to incorporate some of the music, or at least start trying to build around that. So although later we've got shakers and other things coming in to give it interest, really the sound and the feel of the beat is already there. So in the EXS24 sampler, we've got our beat in here, and it's all chopped up there as an instrument. Really the only thing we need to do, or we tend to do here, is use the fat button here, which is kind of like a drive thing. It doesn't really have a specific description, but it basically makes your beat sound fatter, and simple though it sounds, it really does work. So we tend to really push that up, give it quite a lot of weight, and we'll also adjust the envelopes down here to just to tighten up the beats a bit. ADSR to kill. You can get rid of some of the sort of looseness, some of the room feel to the beats. I think in drum and bass particularly, beats tend to be a lot tighter.
Funnily enough, another good plugin what sort of does almost the same thing would be the enveloper,
which we also again use quite a bit on beats and stuff, just to tighten them up.
I suppose if you're working with audio a little bit more, so you haven't got the control of the envelope and each individual hit, this is a great way of doing it.
So I'll play you some here with the enveloper on. Again, it just tightens up the beats, and it's another little trick that we use just to help the drums along. Really, all we've done at this stage is we just added a small synth part, which is this. and this comes straight from Logic's instrument plugins. And just onto that, just to help it out, we've put a bit of EQ on there to roll ups on the bottom end. We don't want it to mess too much with the bass, and a good trick really is we use filters a lot to sort of to place certain sounds and stuff. And in this case, you can see there it's just got a bit of a high pass filter on there, and it just rolls off any of the bottom end that might interfere with the kick.
And also, what we found, what we found, and also what we've been told is sort of to do this using sort of digital EQs is a lot better than using analog EQs. I'm not sure technically the reasons why, but apparently it's to do with phase distortion, and it's come from very good sources, so we'll always do what they say when it comes to stuff like that. So yeah.
Actually, for some reason here we've actually put 2 EQs. I think sometimes it's better to be safe than be sorry, I guess. Yes. So this is, we now got the intro here.
A little bit, a smidgen of delay on that.
On the vocal?
No, on the synth part.
I think you're right. We've used here some of the sends in Logic, and we've got some effects on there. So one of the effects we've got is the tape delay, which is it's an amazing plugin in Logic, and some of the presets. To be honest, a lot of the presets really in Logic particularly, but you know, on a lot of the plugins that we use are great start points. And here we've just gone for a straight space delay, and all we've done to that really is just change the level of the mix and the dry feed. And there's also, if I'm not much mistaken, a bit of reverb on there as well. And in Logic, one of the go-to reverbs is the Space Designer, which is like an amazing response. Was it convolution reverb plugin, which works on sample-based reverbs and stuff. But it obviously, as you can tell, I haven't quite mastered the technology behind it. I'm not entirely sure how it works. Beat it with a real but thing. We've A-B'd it with some of the units that it's supposed to be comparable to, and it sounds almost exactly the same. So really, at this point here, we've got a groove now that we're sort of happy with, and really for us, the next step is to get the drop. That's particularly in this kind of music, anything that's really club based or dance based. It's all about the way the track drops. So that's the most important part. That's the part where it's really going to affect people, make them dance or whatever. So I'll just play you just before the drop and how we drop the track.
I came here for you to take me away. Got me moving to a brand new day. Got me feeling there's no other way. Got me riding my way there. I'm feeling the vibe right through my bones. Making a buzz, I wanna lose control. Gotta admit, I can't leave it alone. You got me up in my zone, yeah.
In Logic, we tend to, a lot of the time, we tend to work in loops. So, initially when we were writing this, we'd probably have just looped this up, this section here, and just worked around and start building it up. So really the next step here was putting a bass line in.
Yeah, I mean, I think the way we work is we work a little bit. I mean, that's not different. Anybody works like this, but we sort of work backwards. So when we're actually writing the loop, we'll fill it. So we'll have to drop and then work backwards for the intro, just because we find sometimes you can spend like, a few hours doing the intro and then realise that you haven't got a drop for it. So if you've got the drop there already, then the intro can come from that.
So as you can see here, we've just played this part in on a keyboard, obviously in tune with the loop in the background and stuff, and again we've just gone straight for a Logic instrument, which in this case is the XS24, and there's a sampled Juno in there, which we've just spanned across the keyboard. see again. Yeah, as you can see again, the infamous fat button switched on again, pushed up. So it works just as good on bass lines as it does on beats. A little trick we tend to do is we repeat the same part, maybe using a higher register or a slightly more MIDI sound, and that sometimes just helps to lift that part and that sound. Also, if you drop that sound out later, it drops the track down without dropping it down too much, and sometimes it replaces the need for extra percussion or or having to drop the beats or whatever else. It's a kind of an arrangement tool that we use. So if I play them together.
Okay, so where are we? All right, so we've done the beats, we've done the bass line, we've got the percussion in, we've got the riff in. So I think we should go to the vocal.
Okay, so for the vocal, which is just here, for instance. Just on a technical point of view, we just literally have the mic plugged straight into a preamp, and then from the preamp that would go into our sound card. And in this case, we just had a little bit of compression on the vocal, not too much. And I guess if you're unsure, the best, I suppose, a rule of thumb is just don't compress and don't EQ on the way in, because you can always do it afterwards in the computer and stuff. So we just get a good level, and then we just ran the loop round and got the singer, which in this case was a friend of ours called Wes.
Big Wes.
Big Wes.
Big up Big Wes.
Yeah. To
Manchester.
Just to lay some vocals down.
I came here to move, so take me away, take me away.
So if I take some of the effects off here.
I came here to groove.
So some of the things we like to do when we're treating vocals, first thing we often tend to put on there is a de-esser. Now, de-esser deals with the sibilants, which is like the S sounds, that you get a lot. It's a problem most commonly found with female vocals, but you do get it in male vocals as well.
Just right at the top end.
And here again, we tend to use some of the plugins. Some of the plugins are great. They're always a good start point. So here, just detecting the frequency that we want to de-ess.
I came here to groove, so take me away, away.
If I just exaggerate that.
I came here to groove, so take me away, away.
As you can hear, it's just for the purposes of demonstration, I've just exaggerated the effects there, but you can see it's really useful, especially as you'll see. We'll add some EQ onto that, and say you wanted to add a bit of air and boost the top end. It really means you can get more out of the EQ than you would normally. Otherwise, you'd be enhancing and exaggerating the sibilants, and obviously using the de-esser solves that problem. So then from here, we might add some EQ.
I suppose when it comes to EQ like this, well, first and foremost, what we try to do is we try to use a good mic and a good preamp. So basically, the actual raw sound is going to be good enough. So a lot of this is more corrective. For instance, we'll take we'll put a high pass filter up to about 100 hertz just to get rid of the rumble and stuff like that. And then, like Darren mentioned before, we've just put a de-esser in the voice. So maybe just the top end, put up a couple of dB, around about 10k, just to put the air back onto it.
I mean, if if we found that there's some frequencies that are bothering us, I'll just show you a quick technique that we use to EQ, and we can use this both to enhance particular frequencies and also to correct particular frequencies. And the way we do this is we'll boost a frequency, so any frequency for the time being, as you can see, and we'll then just shorten the cue, just to focus the frequency a little bit more. So here we've got it about 4.5, and then we'll just boost that. So
way, way.
And then from this point, we'll just obviously playing the sound. We'll just scout around, either taking it down or up, and we'll just try and pinpoint the sound that either we want to enhance, and more often than not, we want to take away. And we found that when EQing, it's probably best to take away than to add.
Way, 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 way.
So the next step really is to add a bit of compression, which again we've using some Logic plugins here, the Logic compressor, and in this case there's quite a lot of dynamics in the vocal there, as you can see. So we just want to smooth that out and just kind of control it a bit more. So we'll use the compressor to do that.
Way, way, way.
We're also sometimes we could use maybe just one compressor, and other times we can use two. And for this, we could use one compressor which compresses it almost for the traditional reason why you would use a compressor for dynamics. And another time we could use, say, like a UAD plugin, such as like the LA2A, which is a limiter, which also colours the sound for a specific sort of, if we wanted some like an old school sort of, what I'm looking for, old school sort of.
Just to give it, we'd use it to give it a character rather than just to serve a purpose. So, say the Logic compressor here, it compresses fantastically, but it doesn't really necessarily have a character. Whereas the LA2A or even some of the outboard hardware compressors do the job slightly differently. Maybe not quite as good, but they just have a distinct characteristic and they affect the sound in a certain way. And especially some of the old vintage stuff, it affects it quite musically.
We found the UAD cards are always good for stuff like this.
Yeah. Now, as you can see there, this particular compressor or limiter is very, very simple to use. We just literally just push the peak reduction button like up, and that's it. That's the only sort of control you've got on there. But the point really is that you shouldn't really be scared to maybe push things sort of beyond their technical usual boundaries. I mean, in this case, you can see that the reduction is quite considerable, and I suppose a lot of books would say on vocals you don't want to reduce more than, say, 3 to 6 dB, and here we're reducing probably 20. But I guess you've got to use your ears and just feel it out and stuff. And in this case, being that the music's quite aggressive and stuff, we want to make sure that you can hear all the words, and quite a lot of compression seems pretty suitable.
I came here to groove, so take me away, away.
Aside from that, again, it's just a case of using some of the Logic effects, just to make it sit in. Things like reverbs and delays are great tools just to help vocals and parts sit in a mix and just blend in.
So, as we've done the vocal, we've got the beats, we've got the bass line, it sort of comes to the arrangement now.
Yeah, which I guess sometimes the arrangement can be the hardest part. Definitely, I think for us, it's one of the most important parts, really. Once you've got your basic groove and stuff, it's a case of stretching it out and making it work. and I guess there's a few different things you can use to make your arrangements work. And we obviously touched upon using the bass line and different sounds in the bass line, and I guess that applies to everything. Traditionally drum and bass works no different, I guess, to usual songs, in that although we don't have choruses and verses, we still have parts that we want to build up and parts that we want to take down. So we do that by using percussion, dropping sounds out, lifting sounds, putting sounds in and stuff. So as you can see here from the intro, we've just started from that simple beat with the that simple kind of clav sound to build the groove. We add a bit of percussion throughout there, and then we build it up till we get to the drop. So if I'll flick through the different parts of that intro just to show you the way it builds up. Obviously, it dropping with the full vocal, and with the bass. One quick trick that we used here regarding the vocals is to drop it. We used tracking of the vocals to lift it up, and tracking, by that we mean we record the lead line, the lead vocal.
Got me moving to a brand new day.
And then we just record the same parts and sometimes harmonies, which harmonies being either the same part lifted up a few semitones or sung down a few semitones. I guess you got to look at it like keys on a piano, and you can basically sing those notes up, say 3, and down 4, and you're actually creating a chord, but with a voice as opposed to a keyboard. So we'd re-sing that maybe twice or 3 times or 4 times, depending on how thick we want it to sound.
Got me feeling there's no other way.
And again, here we just use the panning in Logic. We just pan those left and right, and that would create really what like a wider stereo field.
Got me riding my way, feeling the vibe right through my bones. I came here for you to take me away. Got me moving to a brand new day. Got me feeling there's no other way. Got me riding my wave, yeah.
And as you can see, compared to that original vocal, it's just got a lot more impact, and it lifts it up a lot more. So as you can see there, again, just using this tambourine here, which is just programmed. Well, we call it a double time. It's just on the 16th, and just literally just drawn that in. And you can see here some of the velocities. We tend to mess around with velocities. It just gives it a bit more of a kind of human feel. If I just solo the tambourine. I mean, again, it sounds pretty sequenced, but I think that's the characteristic of drum and bass anyway. It's going to sound like that, but it just adds a bit more dynamics. And again, if you hear the segue between the previous section and when the tambourines come in, it really does pick it up, and especially having them nice and loud in the mix, it really works in a club. You can really hear that difference. From there, the only other thing probably worth noting is the just bringing some more parts in, introducing some new feels that we haven't had in there before. The first of which is this kind of squelchy bass sound. This is coming from the Oddity, and again, just to sort of enhance the feel and to help develop it, we've got a filter on this, and the filter's kind of opening up as the track develops. And again, this is a simple technique we use, in any kind of music, I guess, and similar to how a guitarist would use a wah pedal just to enhance the feel of the guitar. We use a filter on this synth here, and it just opens up as the track moves on, and it kind of just, it gives a feel of leading to something else. Now at this point in the tune, we're trying to sort of bring it back down again. We're going to break it down. I guess the feeling was that in this particular track, as in a lot of drum and bass tunes, and in house, everything, you know, that we need that kind of, I guess it's kind of a middle eighth in a way, isn't it, really?
Yeah, it's if we want it to build and build towards the end, then the best way to do that is by taking things out. So then it'll just come in a lot harder at some point. So usually there's a number of ways you can do it. We've always done it, it's probably usually two ways, which is either stripping it down to the bare beat again and then slamming the bass and everything back in, or taking everything out and just leaving it so it's just a breakdown, and then doing sort of the anticipation with rolls and bits of the instrumentation has already been in there before we slam everything back in.
In this case, to help bring it down, we've put a Rhodes part in, which is quite a soft sounding instrument and quite mellow sounding, and it's kind of already taken some of the energy out of the track, which in this case, for the purposes of breaking it down, is exactly what we want. Sometimes on some of the harder stuff, we'd use like a high pad or a sort of dissonant string,
yeah.
And that, you know, as a sort of long with sustained note, again has the same kind of effect of just adding a bit of tension and also sort of taking some of the impact out of the music. So, like Tootie said, we're just breaking it down and just using various tools. Like we found filters and automation in Logic and other sequences is it's just a great way of making things blend and come in. You could use low pass filters to bring things down and to filter sounds down, and high pass filters to, I guess, to bring things in, and also an important part really of especially music like this, which kind of mainly instrumental, is effects and sounds. We use those a lot to bring stuff in and just to highlight certain areas. I guess with those sounds, it's a case of some of them come straight from the synths in the computer. Some of them we actually just sample from sample CDs.
I suppose we synthesize them as well. Do you know what I mean? Whether we sample them and pitch them up, pitch them down, sort of effects them, reverse them, loop them. Just, I suppose it's whatever's in your head. Do you know what I mean? You might hear I don't know, a cowbell, and that might think, well, if I can loop that and pitch it down and have a filter rising up as it pitches down, then I can get like a nice weird sound from it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we tend to sort of split it into sort of, I guess, three things. Some are just abstract sounds, which really just there just to try to create interest. Others are more like percussive sounds, and we tend to use those at the beginning of 16 bar sections, things like crashes, things like that. Even, you know, similar crashes that maybe we've messed around with. And then other things are more sweeps, and those tend to lead out of a section or lead into a section. So more like whooshes and swirls and things like that, which kind of create expectation or it indicates that something else is going to come.
I think that's it.
Really, yeah. I mean, I guess at this point we've now arranged the track, and really all that's left is balancing. I suppose what you'd call mixing. But I suppose when we're writing, we tend to mix along the way a lot of the time. So when we've got to this point, it's just more a case of fine tuning. You know, there's a few different schools of thought, and we try and encompass them all. Definitely with this track, it was really kind of mixed when we got there. It was just a case of going through some of the different pages. If I just bring the mix page across, we'd just go through here and just balance out. And like Tootie said a while ago, it was more about making corrections rather than actually trying to overhaul the whole track. Often as you work along, your ears are pretty sensitive, and you're actually making those corrections along the way. So we find the best start point really is the work from where we are.
Yeah, when we do drum and bass, we always like our beats to be big, so we'll always use at least sort of 2 to 3 breaks just to get that I don't know how to describe it, just a mesh of, like a wall of sound, a wall of beats. So I mean, I think if Darren will show you now, we've probably got about 5 or 6 different beats in different things. We've always been into breaks, so even we'll have a break just with the slightest little thing, as using just percussion, but just high pass it, so it sounds quite thin, but it's still really a beat.
So like we said, you know, pretty much as we're working, we've got the levels we like. So it's just the case of just making sure that it's working as one sound, rather than getting too messy.
And I suppose the most important thing is making sure the drums and bass work.
When you're using that many breaks, that many bass lines, you know, as we've mentioned before, it's more a case of really focusing on the main kick and snare, or the main 2 kicks and snares that are going to really drive the track. And then everything else really is just sort of decoration around that. So if you've got a heavy kick and snare, you don't necessarily want to weight it down with the weight from another break. So we'd usually high pass the break, which would really just create the energy and stuff, and we just use that for that excitement, so it wouldn't really get in the way. If we're using a high pass, it's taking some of that weight out, the kick and snare from a break, and it just makes it sit in a lot better.
So I think, like I was saying before, I think for us that's the main thing. If your beats are right, your bass is right, and they're working together, then the rest should fall into place, because at the end of the day, they're the main 2 elements.
I mean, aside from that, when we're working with vocals, really, the next step is the vocals. We tend to work from the beats and the bass as a start point and get those nice, and then from our experience, the most important thing after that really is the vocals. And definitely when you're working on more like radio friendly stuff, you know, it's all about the vocals.
I came here for you to take me away. Got me moving to a brand new day. Got me feeling there's no other way. Got me riding my wave, yeah.
That might it might sound pretty loud, but we found that, I mean, this version, this particular mix was a radio edit we did, so we had it really loud and really up in the mix, and it's I guess it's always best to do, if you can afford to, just do a couple of versions. We tend to have a version that you know, that we're happy with, and then we'll do a Vox louder mix, and maybe one quieter as well. I think as time's passed, we've probably recorded, our vocals have probably been getting louder and louder in the mix.
Yeah, without us knowing it.
Without us knowing it, yeah. And that's just from listening to it on radio and listening to it out. I think the initial fear was that the vocals were too loud, and as we've sort of realised, they just weren't loud enough. So I guess, you know, it's always good just to do a few different versions and stuff. And I suppose if you're computer based like we are, changing little mix features, testing your mix on different speakers and in your car and stuff, you can always come straight back to it and adjust anything you need to. I guess that's it. That's a bit about how we made this track and kind of the way we work.
Yeah.